Hello guys, I am back and I am at work. I'm at a paid job today, which is nice because I haven't been paid for a while. So, you know, bank account's going down because of all the stuff for the house. And so first job in like a week and a half, not because I don't have enough work, but because I've been taking time off, but now I'm actually doing work. Today is a job for a customer. This is actually a church, ones I've worked at in the past. We are patching holes in the wall because there's a painting party coming up this Friday. Today is currently Thursday, so tomorrow. And so I've got to get all of those holes patched. I've got to get everything prepped and textured and painted, ready for paint, and so they can paint the ceiling and the walls. And then also we're replacing the windows because they are these single pane aluminum windows, and it feels like the window is open, basically is open, because the wind just blows right through it and you can hear right through it. So we're replacing those windows with these double pane vinyl windows. And so today's video is going to be about how to install a window properly, or at least how I've been taught. You can take it for however you want to, but we're going to replace that window over there to make it look like this window. And we're going to start with removing the trim around the window on the outside, removing the nails, removing the window, and then I'll catch up with you after we get all that steps done, and I'll show you what we're doing for the next steps, because there are a few. So anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining today. And let's jump into some music video. So the best way to pull out those nails that are just hard to get to, it's called a nail puller, or as contractors call it, a nail puller. It's got a real sharp nose on it on both sides. So you can take your hammer and pound it in around the head of the nail and then use it to pull up against it. Works real nice. And then this one has a little circle on it where if the nails, say this screw here is a nail, you can take your circle around it, pound it into the wood, and then use this to pry up your nail or screw. So that's how that works. If you ever wonder, cat's paw is a lifesaver. And now we got the window out, so let's go trim the drywall. The windows we have for this job are just basic Home Depot windows made by Ply Gym. They're just a basic white vinyl double pane window. And if you're wondering what the specifications are, if you're geeking out on that, that's what they are. Pretty simple window, pretty much the cheapest you can get that is good for the job. Those cost about $250 in the current market, so they're not terrible, but definitely not a steal of a deal either. But those windows are thicker, of course, than those metal windows we had. And so we've got to trim back this drywall because the window needs to fit inside the framing. It doesn't fit inside of the drywall. And this is 5/8 drywall because it was a previous commercial building. And so we need to come back through and trim off to where there is at least 2 inches of space here. It doesn't have to be pretty because we're retrimming the window with a box like that one over there, or that one over there. And they'll come back and paint it so it'll look nice and finished. But our next step is to cut the drywall back on this particular window so we can install the window. Isn't it just beautiful up here in far northwest? Anyways, let's get this cut out. For this surgical precision, I'm going to be using a sawzall, which, if you don't know what this is, it's just a saw and the blade goes up and down, kind of reciprocating saw they call it sometimes. And yes, my blade is installed backwards. You can change it to be either way. I just prefer the angle that the rear direction gives. This way is too steep, but if I switch the blade around, then it locks it in a nice straight path. And I'm gonna use this to cut the drywall down this way and up this way, and it'll come out. And a cool trick if you ever wanna look cool in front of people is if you practice this, You can take the little release button and pull the trigger, and then you can catch the blade. Usually it shoots out farther, but for the video, it has to be lame. Anyways, put this back in, and get to cutting. So once you get the window cleaned out and everything clearanced like you want it to be, your next step is to cover the windowsill, which is the bottom part here, the sill board, sill plate, with this is kind of a new thing, I guess. Back in the day, they didn't have anything for this, but nowadays it's kind of common to use, it's like a stretchy rubber of sorts. This is made by Vicor Plus, is the brand name here. You can just get this at Home Depot. And it's, like I say, a stretchy rubber type material. So you go over to the window and you put it on one side and reach across. Making sure to make about 4 inches long on each side. And you can just cut it with your razor knife. And the reason for this stuff is so if water gets underneath of your window, it will run outside of your siding and it won't rot your seal out, your sill. So on the back here, it's got this paper and you take it off and it's just like a big sticker. And if you let it stick to itself, you're not gonna get it apart. So you wanna be careful, but this stuff is sticky. But let me stick it on here real quick and I'll show you how it works. It's a little hard to film and stick on at the same time. So I wanna kind of preface this with you before I kind of keep on explaining how this works. There are more expensive tapes out there. There are more expensive, more elaborate ways to seal a window, but this is the way I do it when it's on a budget and the way that works. It works just fine, but let me show you here what it looks like. You're gonna start off by sticking it to the inside of the windowsill here and then stretching it over to the side. So if water gets here, it's gonna hopefully run down and then out on your siding here. So sometimes it's hard to stick on a remodel because everything's dusty and dirty, but you'll push it in there as best you can so it seals. And then on the corners here where it doesn't seal, you're gonna come and cut a piece of tape that covers this area, and then you'll stretch it the opposite way you did this, and then you can come and caulk that corner if you're worried about it. But that's what it looks like. So you can wrap your entire window, but water isn't going to sit on this area, so it's not as important. And so wrapping the sill is most important, and then you'll come back through and you're gonna caulk around the perimeter of this with some silicone. And that way when you press your window against, you have a flange, I'll show you, up against this, it'll seal it, and then I'll show you how to caulk it once we get to that. But let me put these on, and then I'll show you the caulking detail. There's a couple things you're going to do before you install your window permanently. First, and probably most important, is to dry fit your window, which means set it in there before you start caulking or anything, just to make sure it fits and it moves around enough. And then you're also going to make sure your window is level as much as possible. So you can grab yourself a level and you can stick it on your sill. And if your sill's not level, which sometimes if you have a bad framer, if they even get this windowsill could be unlevel, and so then your window will be cockeyed and that won't look good. So you can fix that by putting shims underneath your window to shim it up in the proper position. And you don't want to put your shims just anywhere. If you put them underneath where there's no support, your window will kind of bow up And so on this window, the support's right in the middle. So I would put a shim right in the middle, and I would put one on each side to make it level. But in this case, the actual sill is completely level and ready to go. And I don't have enough clearance to shim it up anyways. So why would I when I don't have to? So I'm gonna put the window in. I've already dry fit it. It fits nicely. It's nice and level, and then it opens freely. So we're going to caulk around the side, the top, and the other side. And then we're gonna do something called skip caulking underneath the window. It's going to where you caulk a little bit and you leave a gap, and then caulk a little bit more and leave a gap. You leave maybe 2 gaps in the bottom. No, not a big deal. The reason you do that is so if any water gets on the inside, it will allow it to run out. It'll give it a path. But you don't want to just leave the whole bottom uncaulked necessarily, because then you have a lot of air coming in possibly. And so you'll leave a little space wherever you think it's necessary so the water can run out. So let's go ahead and caulk this and then put the window in. Now, as far as nailing it or screwing it, that's not super important. In my opinion, I've been taught that you should leave a little bit of a gap on a screw, but I've changed that, and I just leave, when I screw the window in, I screw it in nice and tight, and I've never had any problems with that. So maybe you can leave in the comments below if you're a professional window installer what I'm doing wrong, but I think this is the best method, and that's why I do it. So let's caulk this, install the window, and then we can work on trimming it out, finishing it out, and calling it a day. So let's go caulking. So how many screws do you need to hold a window in? They have a bunch of holes, as you can tell. There's one there, one there, one there, one there. Is it necessary to fill every hole? No, I don't think so. And I might add some more screws, but for the most part, 3 on each side on this side of the window is plenty. You want the middle to be sucked in tight. You want the top to be sucked in tight. So I might come back and add one there and there, but truthfully, you don't need much more than that. And then also, you don't have to use the holes, but they are nice. The reason I didn't use the holes in, like, say this one, was because the hole was just too far in and it would let the screw bite onto the wood. Same on this side, so the flange wasn't quite reaching, which is totally fine. Just screw through there and make it look good. On the inside of the window, you're going to want to make sure that you clean and fill that gap that's beside the windows with some spray foam. Now, it's not the cleanest, easiest job to get done, but your only goal is to fill the gap between the window and the framing. So I've come through and I've actually filled most of this gap just because I have the extra insulation. And this is the stuff that you normally use. It's called Great Stuff, and it's for windows and doors. You can get these stuff that fills larger gaps, but the issue with those red cans is that if you put it in there, once it dries, it'll expand it and it'll tighten the joints on your window to where it won't open and close properly. So using the blue can, it doesn't expand as much. And then you can let it dry, and when you come back, after letting it set up, you can push these bubbles out and flatten it out. You don't have to worry about cutting it or anything. But if you get it on your hands or on the window like this, it's going to be hard to get off. So I usually just let it dry so I don't smear it around, and then I can scrape it off with a razor knife. But if you get it on your fingers, it just does not come off, and it collects every dirt there is known to man. So let's get the trim cut out and show you how to assemble it. So on the outside of the window, you're going to want to come back and tape the seams. They have special window tape, but this tape is what I have with me, and this stuff works just as good, if not better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a strip of it, which is normally about 6 inches wide, so about double this, and cut it in half to the length and width of the window. So the first piece of tape is going to go down here on the bottom, across the bottom, and you'll stick it on there, and then up the side, that way it overlaps the bottom, and then across the top, that way it overlaps the sides. So I'll tape this on, and then we'll come back and do the trim work, which is with this stuff. It's just an exterior trim board, and it will go along the side of the window, and we'll staple it off and nail it off, and then fill the holes with putty. But I'll show you the finished product and explain why we did it the way we did it. So back on the outside, on the finished portion of the trim, besides paint and caulking and all that stuff, we'll have this caulked and painted. There's a work party tomorrow. That's gonna be on their list of things to do. But check out how sharp that looks. A few things to point out are that I'm not doing a mitered corner. I like the look of these square corners best. It looks good on the window. It's kind of a more farmhouse look nowadays. It looks really well. And then something I forgot to, it looks really good, really well. It's not really good English, is it? Anyways, these little holes right here are called weep holes. And that kind of helps you kind of orientate. I can't even speak tonight. Orientate, yeah, the window to where the bottom is down and the top is up, because if you flip this upside down, not only will your window not work properly, but your water that condensates and dries goes down into the valleys of the window won't have anywhere to go. So when their water gets inside the window, it'll come out these weep holes. That's what those are for. But yeah, so when you're nailing this trim on, keep in mind that your nailing flange for your window is going to stick out a tiny bit, so there's going to be a gap, and if you nail this flush to the wall, this is going to be pushed in compared to this. And so you want to make it look nice. If you have to, you can use door shims and slide behind it to keep it in place. What I've done is I've taken a tool in my tool bag, like my cat's paw, and push behind it, and then when I nail it, it's flush, and then when I come back and caulk it, it's not going to move. So that's how that looks, and that's how that works. So anyways, what do you think? I think it looks pretty fire myself, but you know. Anyways, that's gonna be the end of the video today. Don't forget to look at the description below. And also a few channel updates. We are at 3,232 subscribers, which is a pretty big jump from the last time I mentioned how many we're at. And the reason being is because I posted a somewhat controversial how to solder copper video tutorial, a minute long, got over 2 million views, which is amazing. But some people didn't like it, which is great for me because lots of people commented on it, lots of people watched it. We got lots of subscribers, lots of you guys are watching because of that video. So anyways, I wanted to say where we're at. Don't forget to leave a comment in the description below what number of subscribers you think you are. That would be pretty cool to see in the future and for now. And also, don't forget to have an awesome day. Anyways, we'll catch you later. Here's a little finish shot of the window before and after. Enjoy. Have a good one. God bless.